which this is east of the Holy of Holies, east, where he built the altar after he was kicked out of the garden. This is where his two sons, Cain and Abel, offered their sacrifices and offerings to God in Genesis chapter 4. And this makes perfect sense since the location of the altar, the Macomb, is just east of the temple building in the Holy of Holies. Okay? And not only that, it's understood, and I don't think I put this in there, it's understood according to the Jewish tradition and understanding that when God created Adam out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life that we read in Genesis 2 and 7, that this was understood that the place, the dirt that God breathed into to create man is in the exact same spot where he came out. He wasn't created in the Garden of Eden. He was placed in the Garden of Eden after he was created. Okay? It's in the altar where he offered sacrifice when he was kicked out to God, from God, is in the place from the very dirt that created man. That, and this is, I could spend a whole class on this, but this is one of the significant things about the altar of the temple, where it was located, why the sacrifice, why will it come back again, why will the altar have to be found to be in the exact same spot, because the spot is this connection between the earthly and the heavenly, the portal that God created and divinely created. It's pretty awesome stuff, huh? So let's get into what we talked about before. I give you a reason. God judged Adam and Eve for their disobedience. Remember, they ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve, labor pains, childbirth, and Adam, the sweat of the brow from working. It wasn't so much God's judgment when he removed them from the garden, but his grace and mercy. In his sinful condition, if man in his dying state would partake of the tree of life in the garden environment, he would live forever in that state of dying. It was God's mercy, because that death now entered into the human race, that he be kicked out to not reach out and grab the tree of life to be sealed so that we can die, because of the promise through Messiah of resurrection. And that's why we see the tree of life in New Jerusalem come down. When we are in resurrected bodies, now we freely partake of the tree of life because we are sealed forever in our resurrected body, where we have perfect righteousness, the perfect mind of Messiah, and we have no sin. Rabbi Hirsch says this, that guarding the way of the tree of life, remember the cherubim, the flaming sword, guard the way of the tree of life, can mean to protect and preserve the way so that it shall not be lost for mankind, so that he will be able to find it again and ultimately go back on it, just as the cherubim were the golden protectors of the holy ark in the temple. Another Rabbi, Melvin, concludes that the cherubim guard the way to the tree of life, preparing it so that man can attain it after his soul separates from his body and returns to its Father. These are Jewish sources, In Deuteronomy 16, it's the same thing, the Macomb. This time, we're winding down here, guys, the place where you should go for the three festivals, the three pilgrimage festivals, the Macomb, which the Lord thy God, he shall choose to place his name in. Place his name in. This is another identifier of where the Macomb, where the place is, where the Garden of Eden is, where the heavenly met and intersected with the earthly. In 1 Kings 8, it tells us the place when Solomon built the temple, of which thou hast said, my name shall be there. Solomon knew very clearly when he was building the temple on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite that David had told to go to purchase. Solomon knew that God's name was in that place, fulfilling what was told by Moses to the people of Israel in the wilderness. The Macomb, this place. How did he know? Well, let me give you a short little Hebrew lesson here before I show you. The Hebrew letter Shin, it can be pronounced Sin or Sheen, and there's no punctuation mark on here, but if you have a dot between the first and second wing, that would be your S sound. If you have a dot between the second and third, it would be sh like an SH sound. Okay? The Hebrew letter, we call it Shin or Shin, the initial letter of Shaddai. So you would have the pronunciation point on the between the second and third to get Shaddai, the SH sound. Okay? Shaddai is associated as the name of God in Judaism. We know the four-letter name, but Shaddai, when they have the tefillin phylacteries they wear, they have a sheen on it representing the name of God, and that's a whole other story. But the divine title El Shaddai is usually translated as all-powerful or omnipotent. The Jewish analysis of this name suggests that it means the one who is self-sufficient. But to say the sheen itself represented Shaddai, the Almighty God, as a short form. The priests, when they would bless the people, now this was in the wilderness, but what we know from the Talmud and other places, the priests would bless the people with this priestly blessing that you probably heard before to the people in the temple. And they would stand up and they would make a sheen with their fingers. Okay? Yeah, someone said Spock here. Leonard Nimoy was Jewish. And he actually discussed this, that he got his inspiration for the Vulcan sign for the Star Trek series based on watching the priests in the temple or the synagogues do the priestly, and he just kind of changed it around a little bit. But they would go and make a sheen, the three prongs of the sheen, and bless the people with this prayer. And it was understood that when the priests did this, they were sanctioned by God, that they were putting God's name upon the children of Israel, the sheen. Okay? Throughout the centuries, the rabbis have mentioned the fact that the city of Jerusalem is laid out geographically like a sheen, the name of God. Now, when there wasn't all the city there and all the houses and all that, you could see it in the valleys and all that before it got all built up. The Hinnom, which is where Gehenna comes from. The Tyropian, we think that's a wrong transliteration. We think that the Hebrew actually means the valley of the cheesemakers, and the Kidron valleys. There are three strands of the letter Shin. As I told you, it can be pronounced either way. And the little dot's called the Dagesh. And where the Temple Mount is today, it would be between the second and third prong, making it SH sound for the name of God, Shaddai. And that's his spot. How do we see that? Well, here you go. Here's the three valleys darkened. Here's the Melchizedek's Salem, and David conquered it, and then Solomon built up the Temple Mount. The Kidron Valley, the Tyropian Valley, and the Hinnom Valley. And the temple, the place where he went to worship God, was in the spot for Shaddai, the name of God. You shall put my altar, and you shall go worship me in the place that I shall choose, the Makon, where I shall place my name. Now, over a year ago, March 2009, I took the guys, we went on a Segway trip up in the Peace Force, way up high in the promenades of outer Jerusalem, probably to the south, was it? Probably to the south, toward it. You couldn't walk there. And we weren't with a tour guide, we were on our own. So anyway, these Segways are pretty fun, weren't they? I recommend doing it. We're going to actually have some of us go have an opportunity to do that in December. There won't be snow on the ground. A Segway?
What is that you're riding?
A Segway.
Oh, a Segway.
A Segway, yeah. They're really weird, but they react to your body, and it takes a while to get used to. Anyway, yeah. But anyway, I had to take that to get to where I was going to go to take this picture for you, because I was thinking of you guys. This is the best I could do from where I was at. You can't see it because of all the buildings, but I know where the valleys are. You got the Kidron Valley up here. The city of David's right here, we talked about. The Tyropian Valley comes up here through the Temple Mount, and then the Hinnom Valley is on the other side of these homes here. It goes down, and it comes through there. So that's the sheen that you can... This is probably the only place that you can really identify it today because of all the clutter and all the buildings and everything, because there's a lot of high-rises. And that's going to be it for tonight. And that's probably maybe a third or a fourth of the whole presentation.